What's up, everybody? Ryan and Greg here, and we are here to break down Jordan Peele's revival of The Twilight Zone.
Now, before we do that, again, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the episode yet, get out of here, go watch it, and then come on back.
You have one thing, one natural resource. You are a country with one export, and you are the export.
In this video, we're going to be taking a deeper look at the comedian. What are your sort of top-level impressions of this episode?
Growing up, the shows that I would watch all the time is, well, Simpsons, TNG, and old episodes of Twilight Zone. So there's nothing you can say other than, that's a Twilight Zone episode. I really enjoyed it.
Something that the comedian has that it embraces from the Serling Twilight Zone is the simple morality, corruption, and consequences story.
That deal with the devil, monkey paw vibe. I love
Exactly. See, one of my concerns going into this was that it was going to reach too far for the paranoia of Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams or the mind-bending modern polemic on technology of Black Mirror. The comedian shows that these shows can coexist in the sort of sci-fi horror landscape together.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a sort of additional note to that, the comedian was directed by Owen Harris, who we have to appreciate for what I think is one of the best episodes of Black Mirror, San Junipero. And speaking of the production, I love the throwback drum beats from the original Twilight Zone.
Oh, sound design.
Create tension. I love the lavish cinematography. And then all of the rich performances. For all of the little references, it's not just ridiculous sentimentality. These performances are really good, and they don't resemble the kind of campy, kitschy, sometimes cardboard performances
modern story,
you would get from the Serling Twilight Zone, which I love. I love the original series, but this is these things are different.
Now, he'll have to decide what really matters to him when the laughter stops, and how much he's willing to give to the Twilight Zone.
How do we feel about Jordan Peele filling the Rod Serling shoes as the narrator?
I thought it was going to be really weird at first to see it happen, but then I think we're all going to get used to it at some point.
I have to admit that I'm not bowled over. It's a bit awkward, but in fairness, it's not like Rod Serling wasn't awkward either. You know, there was a kind of something off about his stuff too, and so it almost feels appropriate and just only a little bit off because the smooth tone and style of the cinematography almost doesn't quite click with how kind of just silly it is. But it does maintain that silliness. That is it's part of the Twilight Zone.
So you're in this uncanny valley for Rod Serling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we get into some Easter eggs and references that we noticed, let's just go through a bit of the plot of the episode and some of our favorite scenes.
Yes.
The episode stars Kumail Nanjiani as a struggling nightclub comedian who is advised by Tracy Morgan's character, who may or may not be the devil, that the audience doesn't want to hear what he thinks, they care about him.
What do you want? You happy with your life? With your career? Don't you want it all?
Let's just assume that Tracy Morgan is the devil because, as they say in The Howling Man,
I saw him and didn't recognize him.
That is man's weakness and Satan's strength.
Samir starts off as kind of a aspiring, somewhat intellectual comedian.
Sure.
He's trying to tell jokes about current events, major issues.
He needs a lot of work.
His lead joke is about the Second Amendment and too many guns in the country, and nobody thinks that's funny.
Crickets. So with that, he decides to lower his comedic professional level or whatever it is for him, and he's like, all right, fine, I'll give you the cat and dog jokes.
Don't look at me. Why are you here watching this? There has to be a better way to do this. Okay.
So this is when he comes home and realizes that the dog named Cat is missing.
Right.
Oh, all right, and now we're off and running.
The warnings from Tracy Morgan are coming true. And then, you know, his girlfriend doesn't remember the dog, even though it was hers, at least according to the joke.
From existence.
He goes out to like paper the neighborhood with his nephew, and then he goes to the club with his nephew, and then he jokes his nephew out of existence.
Devin Singh, everyone. Give it up for Devin Singh.
That freaks him out.
But then he realizes the power he now has.
Right.
Much like any Twilight Zone episode, it's time to start your own self-destruction.
Exactly. Time to kick it up into high gear and ruin your life.
So after he dusts his nephew, he thinks that, okay, maybe I'm a superhero or something. I can use this power for good. And he's just wiping out any creep or dirtbag in his past. He starts with Joe, the creepy comedian who we find out who was the drunk driver who killed 2 people, which is why the Franklin sign's all broken.
And then he basically goes on a tear through his high school yearbook, which is great. I mean, that's sort of like the wish fulfillment part of the episode, where like I think when you're watching it, you're like
hours scrolling through.
Who would I have wiped
You're gone.
And also, it brings him closer to his girlfriend. They start having a better time together.
You're like, you can end it there. It's like, happy ending. There you go. So yeah, he's going through his Facebook. He's wiping out murderers, or suspected rapists, murderers, all of these people, or anyone who treated him badly.
Right. Meanwhile, he's getting popular.
Yep.
His relationship with his girlfriend is getting better. And hey, everything's pretty great. What could possibly go wrong?
Do you guys have a girlfriend who's got like a creepy older mentor?
You know, he can't stop. But
He
he can't. So jealousy kicks in.
The good takes the natural turn to bad, as per a Twilight Zone episode.
So poor Dave was next on his list, and that causes everything else to just tumble out of control for him.
Right, so he wipes out his girlfriend's mentor, and she goes from being a lawyer to being a late-night waitress.
Yes.
And all of the good parts of their relationship also evaporate in that moment, and they kind of devolve into this struggling state and basically immediately break up.
Yeah. Can we talk about that Second Amendment joke again? Because he keeps trying. He won't stop. Samir every time he's like, so Second Amendment. What's great is it's a horrible joke. It's just a bad joke.
I kind of love it, like that. This whole time, as he's getting like bigger and more popular,
he's still trying.
He still walks out on stage and tries to float that joke, as if it's gonna be different.
Nope.
But no, it didn't go that way. Instead, he takes down some hedge fund investors. That was pretty sweet.
Just the quick, gone.
After this point, his popularity is soared enough that there's somebody from TV coming to see him and Dee Dee, and they're gonna try and choose which of the two of them is gonna move on in their career, basically. And while he's sort of waiting in the green room, Tracy Morgan comes back, and they have their sort of, confrontation there, and it is, I don't know, I would say very classic stock Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Of just like, hey buddy, this is what I sold you and you bought it, right?
What?
Then he sort of basically completely lost it.
Yeah, we know where this is going.
He follows her on the stage, he goes up, he wipes her out of existence.
Later, Dee Dee.
He goes on a tirade of wiping out anybody he can possibly think of.
It's a great scene. It's
the destruction. It's what did Tracy Morgan say? He said, burn the house down.
Yeah.
And he just goes. And then he's, of course, stopped by his ex. And she calls him out on everything. And it's awesome. And it looks like he's going to just wipe her out. And he just decides it's time for him to stop.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to talk to you about myself.
So the last part after he wipes himself out. Everybody else kind of comes back.
It resets itself, but
And-
it's not over.
That I couldn't, I mean, it's very Twilight Zone, but I couldn't quite get what the point there was.
At the scene where at the very end with Dee Dee and Tracy Morgan's character, when they have the pan out, you can tell that there's no one sitting next to Dee Dee. She's talking to herself.
So she's next.
Yes.
Okay.
It just keeps on going. So all those names in the green room and the people in the photo in the back, they could be other comedians that just got taken.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
The episode starts off with a deal with the devil. Now, the Twilight Zone is no stranger to this scenario. It happened multiple times, including in the 1959 episode Escape Clause, where we saw a hypochondriac David Wayne sell his soul for immortality.
And how'd that work out?
Not well.
No.
I think possibly both of our favorite in this episode, which was the bus stop
Oh, easily my favorite.
that said Franklin, and it's like flickering lights.
Franklin.
Franklin.
Now, the flashing Franklin sign over the bus stop should remind audiences of poor old Franklin Gibbs, who met his untimely end to a cursed Vegas slot machine, when the machine continues to follow him, repeating his name over and over again. Now you can spot Jerry Etherson's little buddy Willie from the episode The Dummy in the background here.
What do you say we get down to business?
Also, in the giant portrait in the comedy club, you can spot a few faces that look mighty similar to a few of the pig noses from Eye of the Beholder.
Another one that I didn't notice right off the bat that you pointed out, because I would say it was stashed pretty close to the rafters in this episode, was that the figures behind the comedy club stage look similar to the grotesque masks seen in the season 5 episode, The Mask.
Next up in the green room with all those names written on the wall, you might have seen the name James Embry. Now that is a callback to King 9 Will Not Return, a 1960s episode about a World War II pilot who gets separated from his crew.
Finally, there's a reference that is not to the Twilight Zone.
Nope, but it's a good way to bookend the episode
It's
too.
how the episode ends. The camera moves in on a photograph, an older photograph of the nightclub, and in the crowd is Samir.
The Shining. There's your Shining reference
A
from Jordan
not
Peele.
at all subtle reference.
Not at all.
I'm good with that, and as you know, and as probably a couple of people out there know, I don't think anything with references is complete without at least one Stanley Kubrick reference.
You mean Shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
Let us know down in the comments or hit us up on Twitter with your thoughts or some of the things you noticed about Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone.
All the Easter eggs, give them to us right now. Throw them in the comments down below. And while you're at it, make sure to hit that subscribe button because we will be back here very soon with the next episode. Bye guys.